And we are live. Welcome everybody to Lubbock Compact Live for Wednesday, September the 6th. I am your host, Adam Hernandez, here with my co-host, Josh Shankles, and we have a special guest with us today, Miss Melissa Sharp with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And this is a huge problem for our city. If you all missed the article from the Tribune not that long ago, Lubbock has the highest rate in the state for youth suicide attempts. This is a huge problem. We are much lacking in our mental health resources out here. And so, very important work that Melissa and this organization do. And so, we're happy to have her here with us today. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And so, this is the point where I normally kick it off to Josh, and he's going to kind of kick us off with the interview. So, Josh, take it away.
Melissa, so glad you could be here. Why don't you start, give us a baseline, introduce yourself to our audience, and just tell us who you are.
I'm Melissa Sharp, and I lost my daughter Miranda to suicide in 2014 rather unexpectedly. And my son Morgan had issues with depression and anxiety from an early age, and he had trouble coping with the loss of his sister, and he took his life in 2020. So I decided I needed to do something, and I started volunteering with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I started out as a field advocate where I could email our congressman about bills pertaining to suicide awareness and prevention. And I became a founding board member. We founded our chapter for the West Texas area on September 13th of 2022. And that's my daughter's birthday, so that was a God wink. So I'm a founding board member of that, and I'm also the Lubbock Walk chair for the Lubbock Out of the Darkness Walk. And I'm on the education team and the advocacy team. This summer, I got to go to DC and speak on Capitol Hill about 3 issues that we're trying to get pushed across.
Wow. I want to take apart some of those things. I'm so glad you'd be willing to share your story with us. I know suicide is something that's also touched Adam's life, and my own. Certainly, when I was a kid, we went on a road trip, visited a cousin of mine who had had a terrible motorcycle accident and had to have a lot of facial reconstruction and was blind as a result of his accident. And then really shortly, we really connected and got along. And then really shortly after I left, he took his own life. And I don't know, it was just like a really profoundly moving thing for me at the time, being a kid. And we weren't super close. It wasn't something that I had to process so closely, certainly as your experience. But this has crossed my own life. Adam, do you want to talk about this at all?
Yeah, I mean, longtime viewers of the show and those who know about me will know that my oldest daughter took her own life in 2018, very unexpectedly for us. That was actually the first year I was introduced to the Out of Darkness Walk. She took her own life in her birthday month of August, and the walk happened in September. So, something that's very near to me as well. And also, earlier in my life, I did have an uncle who I was very close to, my grandma's youngest son, and he actually took his own life when I was 11 years old. And so that was my first experience with someone taking their own life, and it really does affect so much about your family life and just how you move forward from there. And Melissa, I just admire your strength. To have lost 2 children is just heartbreaking.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I am just so moved that you would turn this deep loss into into advocacy work and something to benefit our community. Maybe you want to tell us a little bit more about, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, your local chapter, how that works, where people find you guys. Tell us more about that.
Okay. Well, we formed our West Texas chapter, and that has 84 counties. We go all the way up to Amarillo, through Lubbock, over to El Paso, down to Midland, Odessa, San Angelo, and right over to the edge of Abilene. Abilene is in a different chapter, so we don't cover them, but we have our walks yearly, and we've started our campus walks. We have education programs that we offer to schools anywhere from children ages 4 to college age. And then we also have the Talk Saves Lives that we have for adults. The 101, Latinx, firearms. We have a number of those Talk Saves Lives.
Yeah, that's really great work to be doing for sure. And so you said you all just started this chapter last year. So how many schools or how many places have you all been able to get into so far?
Sadly, not a whole lot. I know we've gotten into Hereford and some in the Midland area. And I teach at a local high school, so I provide some of the programs to some of our organizations there. We have started Sunflowers Over Suicide at Lubbock High with some of our IB and CAS, our students doing it as their CAS projects. My daughter loved sunflowers, and she baked brownies for all of her friends on their birthdays. So we started out selling sunflowers, and then we started selling sunflower shaped cakes and brownies, and now the students have designed t-shirts and decals and you name it, they've been doing it. And we've offered scholarships. And of course, we participated in the Out of the Darkness Walk. And this past year, we hosted a campus walk at Lubbock High. And we were able to, I think we raised close to $7,000, and we had around 150 participants from around the area. We invited schools from all around the area, and Lubbock Cooper actually had a team that raised quite a bit as well.
Yeah, that's a really great turnout. I wasn't able to make that event, and I really did want to go, but that's great to hear that you had such a great turnout. Can you talk a little bit about, just for anybody that may be listening, we do have listeners that may work for LISD or other educational institutions, work with kids. How does a school or a group go about getting you all to get your programming there?
All they have to do is go to afsp.org/Lubbock, and that's how you can register for the walk or donate. There's also links in there where you can go to the virtual programs that we have available, where you can sign up for those, or you can also email to request one. And we've actually spoken to or tried to get into LISD, and we've gone through the director of counseling, and I've emailed Kathy Rollo, and we've talked to Lala Chavez, and she's attended our walks and been trying to push for it, but we just haven't been successful in getting our foot through the door.
Yeah, maybe tell us more about the importance of your work and program, how it's received by students, by people you interact with. Like, take us into that human dimension a little bit.
Well, suicide is the second leading cause of death in ages 10 to 34 in the state of Texas. So, and Adam's already mentioned the high rate of attempts that we have here in Lubbock. And at Lubbock High, I present to our Sunflowers over suicide and to our mental health classes and our psychology classes. And the students are very receptive. They're appreciative. I've had several that have come and spoken to me behind the scenes, letting me know that they appreciated my support because they're struggling and they can't very well explain it to their parents, or they're not very accepting. And so it gives them a place to talk amongst themselves. And it also provides them with warning signs and ways to get help. And we have It's Real for teens that we present at the high school level. We're coming out with It's Real for middle school. So maybe we can get that over at OL Slayton with you, Adam. And then we have It's Real for college as well.
Yeah, I've seen just in my own work at OL Slayton because I do let the students know my story. I think that it's important to share because as I've seen, they will open up to you, and I've had students just come directly to me and ask me to speak with them or to answer some questions for them, and so. I've seen that as well on the OL campus. We've had students just flat out ask for it when we go and do our boys and girls groups. And generally, in the beginning of the year, we'll ask them, and even at the end of the year, we'll ask them again. What would you like us to bring to the program? And time and again, they will say things of this nature that they're struggling with. And so. You know, again, kudos for doing that work. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be trying to continue to get you in with LISD. I think that at this point, maybe an easier avenue would be to just connect you with communities and schools, because communities and schools does have a little more leeway with what they can do and bring in. And so maybe we can work an angle there. So yeah, I'll definitely keep ringing those bells.
And I actually spoke to someone with communities and schools last week. We have a person on our campus, but I think she's leaving our campus. So that was my hope, to get in there. And I've spoken to the Boys and Girls Clubs trying to get in there, and they've agreed to let us go speak to all 5 of those
awesome.
in this area. So
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think it's such an important re-emphasis of some things. It re-emphasizes some things that we've talked about on the show, particularly where the issues of the youngest people in our community are concerned, which is our kids are whole individuals with their own rights entirely, and they need ideally a lot of trusted adults around them, and of course their parents can and should be an anchor to that whole array of people, but ideally you want a lot of different trusted adults around your kids so that they get a whole bunch of different perspectives, because of course there are going to be things that they aren't comfortable going to this or that person with immediately, or maybe ever. And maybe that in a lot of cases that can be for the best. I'm so glad that you're able to interact with the people you are. And I hope that there are more and more and more. Do you think that, do you think there's some reluctance on behalf of the schools to kind of shoulder into this wholeheartedly because of the seriousness of the issue? Do you feel like there's any sort of a holdback there, or that it's really just kind of one of those things where it takes a long time to get fully incorporated? Or do you want to speak to this at all?
Part of it. Well, that could be part of it. I know a lot of people have trouble talking about it. There's a stigma around suicide. And I was trying to bring our younger version called Gizmo read along to my son's school, and they allowed me to read the book, which talks about a therapy dog and teaching kids about their mental health, their feelings, thoughts, and actions, and what to do if they're sad, mad, or worried, and how to reach out to trusted adults, and who to reach out to, and what they can do with each other or with their trusted adults to help them with their mental health. And I was able to present, but they didn't want us going over the mental health plan at the end. So they thought it would create angst amongst the children. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But I did see in our notes from the last board meeting that they are allowing Hub City Outreach and to do the education over substance abuse and mental health, suicide prevention. So hopefully we can present some about suicide along with them.
Yeah, I'm a former school teacher myself, and I was always pushing up against the small c conservatism of schools, where they're overly cautious and careful about things that it's like, hello, wake up, let's be in reality. Okay, we can't, you might like it to be some way, but it's not that way. So why don't we just be in reality? And so that was always kind of a challenge. I never felt like I was about to get fired for anything, but there was always some like squeakiness when I'd like want to do a thing where I was like, let's just face reality. The kids deserve us to present them reality anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is something, again, with my experience at OL Slayton, I get to see a lot of what LISD is focusing on and implementing, and some of that stuff we have to go along with. And a big thing right now, rightfully so, is, their concern over vaping or substance use, especially, fentanyl getting to kids and things of this nature. And I think that it really takes a holistic approach to understand that that could be part of the same problem. That could, it's all wrapped up together with the mental health aspect of this. And I really would like to see, aside from the schools, the state definitely put more resources towards this. We really don't have a great record as far as the state when it comes to funding mental health. You look at us here in Lubbock, we're the 11th largest city in Texas. We don't even have a major mental health facility here that youth or really anybody can go to. The closest places are Big Spring or Amarillo and things like that. We are on track to get the diversion center, which could help with this a bit. And I'm curious, Melissa, have you heard anything about the diversion center? Will you guys be at all involved in any of that?
I'm not certain about any of that, but you're right about the youth. I always, when my son needed to be hospitalized, we either had to go to Amarillo, Abilene, Midland, or somewhere at least 2 hours away. When you would think a city of our size would have something, but after the other hospital closed down and turned into Wayland Baptist, I think, the charter planes, we just haven't had much to offer for adolescents and teens.
Yeah, a lot of folks will remember the charter planes facility out there, and I was just talking to somebody that used to work out there actually, and he was talking about how much of a shame that was, and apparently there was some mismanagement or something that caused that. But we definitely need to fill that void out here. Have you seen anything, Melissa, that's encouraging or discouraging at the state level when it comes to policy around these issues?
We just formed a state policy council committee, and we just had one meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we have another one tomorrow. So most of the things we've done that I've seen have been at the federal level. So we're trying to get more into the state level and in with our congressmen in our own areas. So I'll get back to you on that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. The diversion center, we talked about that a couple of shows ago, and, because it came up in a city meeting, but this will be a facility devoted to interventions on mental health crisis, folks experiencing mental health crises. I think probably, I wouldn't presume to know what the totality of the landscape would be around healthcare around this issue. Certainly, this will be an asset for our community to have. I would hope that, like so many other things in this area, it would be well networked with other local resources like your own organization, who understand best practices in this area and really help create a comprehensive healthcare system around the issue of suicide and suicide prevention. And so, yeah, that seems like that'll be a good thing. We'll make sure you are connected with that issue a little bit better. I don't know what kinds of things would you want to share? Like, this is kind of like an inarticulate, ham-fisted sort of question, but like, what advice would you want people to know out there who might run into this? Like, how they can get help? What should they be? What are their best practices? What kinds of just commonplace advice around the issue of suicide prevention would you want?
I would definitely want them to know the warning signs and to go to get help, to seek help. And of course, there's the suicide prevention lifeline, but now the 988 will connect you with someone. It gives us someone to call, someone to respond, and somewhere to go. Sometimes we don't have a local call center here in the Lubbock area. So right now that's one of the legislation that we're trying to push for funding for the 988 to get better support there. And when we went to DC, we were asking for $836 million to support that across the country. And always, of course, you can go to afsp.org and find outlets there. We have a list of.
We do have a question from Anne. She says, what about people that can't afford mental health treatments? She said, yes, we have MHMR, but the wait list is months out, on top of the possibility of being on a 72-hour hold. Do you know of any programming, Melissa, that could help folks who may not have the means to maybe get therapy or anything surrounding mental health?
That's kind of what I dealt with my son, because if you have insurance, it's a high deductible, and it's not, there is always a wait. There was a 3-month wait. So unfortunately, he took his life before he could get help. But I know Catholic Family Charities has counseling for children, I think maybe 4 to 18, that is free. And then with LISD, I'm not sure. I would think it's with the other campuses as well. They have a program called Cater, where you can work through your pediatrician and the counselors to get counseling there as well.
Yeah, it's just such a tough landscape out there, because I mean, it's really just crying out for massive policy solution, because even if you are well resourced, you're still facing a situation where there's not enough therapists out there, there are not enough doctors out there, it's tough to get appointments, the cost remains really high, and so really we're all just kind of like crying out for more policy solutions. And in the meantime, everybody's kind of just doing the best that they can, and that's a really tough position to be in. I don't know if to answer that person's question, it's like trying to offer some advice from a really human level, where it's just like, try to get some sunshine and drink a glass of water and connect with like literally anybody who you might care about, or what to say to this person.
And of course, Star Care is always available as well, so they're a good resource.
Yeah, Melissa, speaking of policy, from your perspective, what could a city council, for instance, do to help in this area? Are there any policy things you're thinking about on a local level? Anything you can think of at all? How could a city council help with this issue?
I can really answer that other than we need more mental health resources and places for our adolescents to seek help and to go when they are in crisis. Oftentimes, the SWAT team comes out and people are arrested, and a mental health crisis needs a mental health response.
Yeah, we were able to, I believe this began in 2021. We were advocating for a while for mental health professionals to show up with officers in certain situations. Unfortunately, there's only about 3 of them from what I understand right now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that could be expanded out if necessary, I guess. But we do have some of that happening. Also, the diversion center, once that's up, which unfortunately won't be until 2025, once that's up, should somebody be in crisis and officers and the social workers show up, they can give that person or their guardian the option to take that person to the diversion center rather than to jail. Obviously, we know that that's the worst possible place for somebody to be that's dealing with a mental health crisis. And so it's very slow progress in that. But yeah, I'm always asking because this is something that I obviously am very passionate about. And I would like to know what we could do at a city level, city governance level, something that we could advocate around to get some help in this area. So that's why
we
I
have
asked.
a really proactive and innovative public health director who has added increasing amounts of services to her department through her kind of globalized and comprehensive thought about what public health would mean to a community like ours. And so I think keeping somebody like that who is worth their weight in gold and really supporting those endeavors and finding more ways to hang responses to these obvious needs within our community, because it's something like this is a very salient public health issue. I think would be a good thing to keep in mind as well, and something that we'd hope to see expanded. Maybe now is a good time to talk about the Out of the Darkness Walk. Tell us about that. Tell us about the event.
Okay, that will be held on September 23rd at the Ranch and Heritage Center. Check-in will be at 6 p.m. and the walk will begin at 7. And we'll have activities and food, and you can register as an individual, you can register as a team, you can join our Sunflowers Over Suicide team, and you can do all of that at afsp.org/Lubbock. And we'll have barbecue that we'll be selling to raise money, and baked goods. We'll have an area where people can design a quilt or put things in that they would like on a quilt square, and then a class at Lubbock Cooper is going to actually design the quilt squares for everyone. And we had a poster donated where that says "You're Not Alone," where everybody can color on that, and then we'll have a photo booth and There will be several vendors out with mental health resources and bears and buddies where you can make a little bear, and they'll have shirts for AFSP and the Sunflowers Over Suicide. So there's quite a bit available out there, and then you can walk at your own pace through the Ranching Heritage Center, and it'll be at night. This will be our first one in the evening, so we'll be doing that with luminaries, and it should be a fun time.
Well, it's really great, and it sounds like it's really grown a lot since I went out. And I would just encourage everybody, even if you haven't lost somebody to suicide, to go out there. Um, you never know when you have somebody in your family that's struggling. You really never know when your kids are struggling. And a big thing that I'm constantly trying to tell people around this issue is the importance of being part of some sort of community, having some sort of group that you can lean on, or that you can have somebody to talk to. And this is the perfect place to do it, is to show up and become a part of this community. It really does help to have somebody to reach out to. And so that's another thing that I often tell people who may be struggling with these thoughts, or may know somebody that's struggling, or they think they know somebody that's struggling, is the importance of the simple act of just reaching out to somebody when you're in that moment of crisis, because a split second can mean your life, and you make a split second decision that has permanent consequences. And obviously not just for the person, but you really never know how many people's lives that you touch. And my daughter certainly didn't know. So um, it really, the implications of somebody taking their life are so much bigger than just that person. And I think it's just really important for people to uh, just try to build that community, try to reach out to folks, try to lean on people. Because what we're seeing a lot of times in our society nowadays is kind of everybody trying to be an island, right? And that's just not how human beings are supposed to be. We are not islands. We're social beings, and whenever you remove yourself from the greater community, you start struggling a lot more. I know this firsthand. I've been down that road, and ended up in a really dark place in my life because I wanted to do it all on my own, didn't want to ask anybody for help, and all of those sorts of things. And I can tell you from experience that it is a lot better when you have people around you uh, that you can rely on, and that can rely on you as well, because sometimes they may need you. Um, which can oftentimes, be beneficial just from the standpoint of knowing that you help somebody in a time of need. And so I would just encourage everybody to go out there. And it's a great cause. Even if you don't, do the walk, go out and donate. This is when we talk about, obviously, policy, you've got to deal with lawmakers and all of this, but these are those things that we can do, boots on the ground from the community, to help with this issue. So we have an organization right here in town. Donate to them, volunteer for them, and we can hopefully start to make more of a difference in this issue in our city, because we really, really do need it. So yeah.
Currently, we've raised like $24,498, and we have 264 participants signed up. So our goal is 55,000. So we've got a little bit of a ways to go, but we have had some generous sponsors, and our teams are starting to build. So definitely come join us. And if you can't join us, donate.
Yeah. So where can they go on the website, or where should they send donations? How do they donate?
If they go to the afsp.org/Lubbock, then it'll take them directly to, at the top of the page, it'll either say register or donate. And they
Awesome.
can choose a team to donate to, or they can just make a general donation. And we have a couple of fundraisers coming up next week. One, our Sunflowers Over Suicide is having at Chipotle's on Glenna Goodacre from 5 to 9. And just mention AFSP or Sunflowers Over Suicide, and we'll get 33% of those proceeds. And then for those of you that don't like Chipotle's, we have another fundraiser that same night at Bubba's 33, and just mention AFSP there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm so grateful that you have started up this chapter, for the work that you're doing. You're covering a lot of ground. You are trying to fill a gap. We always are trying to uplift folks that are gap fillers and saw an obvious need and wanted to step into it. We owe you a huge debt of gratitude for that. I think everybody's said some beautiful things here tonight, and you know, I do really hope that people connect with this Out of the Darkness walk and really uplift this issue and come together as a community around it. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, Melissa, before you go? Or
I think that's about it. Oh, I do need to also mention that one of my colleagues is going to be presenting some of the education programs through Friendship and at Coronado. So we do have some avenues in there a little bit, but now we just need to get to the rest of the city.
Yeah, my daughter actually went to Coronado, and so you know, that probably could have been very beneficial for her. Um, I would just say anybody listening that may work for LISD or may be connected to communities and schools as well, I'm definitely going to be pursuing this a lot more than I was able to last year. But I would just say reach out to your administrators, reach out to your school board folks, and try to get these programs in the schools. I know it can be very, very tough to talk about this, but I guarantee you that it's going to be much tougher trying to live your life without your child. And so, something very important to think about. But thank you very much, Melissa, for coming on. I know this is a heavy topic. I know it's particularly hard. Every time I have to do one of these shows or an interview about this, I have to take a whole day to recuperate. And so I know how hard it can be. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for all of the work that you're doing. And we'll continue to try to help you with that.
Thank you. And again, I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope you don't have to take tomorrow off.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I won't be able to, but I probably will be pretty tired. But
And hopefully
okay.
one of these days we can pull you in to volunteer with us.
I definitely,
You know, you're not
yeah.
into politics and so much.
Yeah, I should after the middle of October, I should be able to have a little more freedom in my schedule, and that's kind of what I'm working towards, so that I can put more of my time definitely into this. This would be the next thing that I would want to devote any other sort of time that I may have, and so definitely look forward to being more involved for sure. Well, thanks, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. Again, if you would just share this video with your family, with your friends, share the website and the information with them. Any small donation will help with this cause. It's very much needed here. We don't get a lot of funding from the state here. We don't get a lot of funding from the city in this field, and so we need to really come together as a community to support these things. And so that's all I really have to say for everybody out there. I thank Melissa again, and we'll see you back here next time. Thanks. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Have a good night.
All right.